UK Foreign Secretary Priti Patel receives a firestorm after her sharp criticism of the International Criminal Court for issuing an arrest warrant against Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu. Is this a case of political loyalty gone too far? Or are we witnessing yet another diplomatic minefield between the UK and Israel?
The International Criminal Court's decision to issue arrest warrants for the State of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and its former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant will do nothing to help secure the release of those poor hostages who've been held captive by Hamas for over a year. Nor will it help to get more aid into Gaza, and it will not deliver a sustainable end to this awful conflict. And in charging Israeli leaders alongside Hamas, the ICC appears to be drawing a moral equivalence between Israel's war of self-defence and Hamas terrorism. We utterly reject any moral equivalence. The only beneficiaries of this decision are Hamas and their terrorist sponsors, Iran, who are now celebrating this propaganda coup as a great victory for Hamas and Hezbollah. Since the ICC's decision, we have had dither from ministers and confused messaging and no clarity, so I'm grateful to the minister today for his remarks. So the government has indicated already that it will seek to enforce these warrants through our own courts, and there is a process around that. And as to the issue of warrants, we have raised serious concerns over process, jurisdiction, and the position on complementarity principle, and believe the warrants for Mr Netanyahu and Gallant have no basis in international law. So does the government believe the court has jurisdiction in this case, given that Israel is not party to the Rome Statute and Palestine is not a recognised state? Does the minister agree that the ICC must act within legal norms? And in the absence of the ICC making public the specific context of the charges, does the minister share concerns expressed about reports of process errors in the ICC's investigation and the concerns that Lord MacDonald, the former DPP, has raised about the use by the prosecutor of an expert panel? And finally, but crucially, what effect does the minister believe that Mr Netanyahu's immunity under international law as a serving Prime Minister of a country which is not a state party has on enforcing these warrants in the UK's own courts? Mr Speaker, these are important questions. I look forward to the Minister responding. But it is really important that at this time when there is such a conflict taking place, the Minister has already spoken about securing the release of hostages, more aid coming into Gaza, that we have clear clarity from this government. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I welcome the questions from my right honourable friend across the benches. It is, of course, utmost in this government's mind the need to bring an immediate end to the conflict in Gaza, to secure the release of the hostages whose families I have met, and I know the right honourable friend knows that I'm familiar with these issues from my previous life. We also, of course, need to see more aid going into Gaza, and the questions at issue with the ICC are separate from that. Diplomacy will continue regardless of the process of the ICC, but I had understood it to be the common position of this House that the international rule of law is an important commitment. The International Criminal Court is the primary body in enforcing these norms, and the issues on jurisdiction and complementarity were heard by the pre-trial chamber. Its three judges have issued their findings, and I think we should respect those.
Chair of the Select Committee, Emily Thornberry.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The International Criminal Court was created when 120 countries put their names to the Rome Statute and signed up to the principle that certain basic standards of behaviour must be enforced internationally, and those laws would be applicable to everyone, no matter who they were. From the time when Winston Churchill led the party opposite, this country has been a proud supporter of international law, and it is wrong for us to try to undermine it. Does my honourable friends share my deep disappointment that the Conservatives have fallen as far as they have?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As I think has been clear from the actions of this government from July when we became the government, the international rule of law is incredibly important to this government, and all of our actions will be guided by it.
Whatever reservations one may have about the conduct of the conflict in Gaza, there are two fundamental principles. One, Netanyahu is a democratically elected leader of a sovereign state, and two, that state is conducting a legitimate war of self-defence. Now, the minister acknowledges those facts, but does he not appreciate how this ruling is seen as an affront to those principles by many of my constituents?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm slightly stumped by the questions opposite. We're signatories to the ICC Act. I think the whole House agrees with the importance of the rule of law. Representations have been made to the ICC in the pre-trial chamber, and they have found they have come to their decisions. I think we should respect their independence.
Tan Singh Desi.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I find it shocking but not surprising that the Conservative Party has chosen to downgrade and disparage the highly respected International Criminal Court. We're a nation that upholds the rule of law, so I am very proud that the new Labour government has chosen to respect the independence of the ICC. With ICC arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant and Mohammed Deif, who, on the basis that there are reasonable grounds that they bear criminal responsibility for potential war crimes, does the Minister agree that it is important that we respect the independence of that ICC judgment and that, if required, we implement the said finding?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm not really able to go much further than to say that there is a domestic legal process through our independent courts that would determine whether or not to endorse an arrest warrant. We would follow the due process in the way that you would expect, and this is a decision not for government ministers but for an independent court.
David Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Minister may be aware I've fought the corner for international courts time and time again in this House, and I view upholding the authority of those courts and the reputation of those courts as very important. The difficulty here is not just that Israel is a democracy, but it has an internal independent judiciary, which puts a limit on what any government can do in Israel, which is why equating or appearing to equate Netanyahu with all the other monsters that the International Criminal Court has quite properly prosecuted risks bringing the court into disrepute.
Where's the limit?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know that the Right Honourable Member has looked at these issues over a long period of time. Questions of complementarity are, of course, important, and I understand they were considered by the pre-trial chamber.
Okay, let's unpack why this is causing such an uproar. First, the ICC arrest warrant is unprecedented for a sitting Israeli leader. It represents a significant escalation in the international legal community's scrutiny of Israel's actions in Palestinian territories. Second, Priti Patel's response has reignited questions about the UK's foreign policy priorities. The UK, traditionally a staunch supporter of international law, now finds itself at odds with one of its key institutions, the ICC. Critics argue Patel's position undermines the UK's credibility as a defender of human rights and international law. Her condemnation has been viewed by some as prioritizing political alliances over justice. Is Priti Patel right to defend Netanyahu, or does this move signal a dangerous erosion of international law? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an episode of GeoPulse. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.